Today we're going to get into the basic mechanics of a inspection. And inspectors in Texas are licensed by the Texas Real Estate Commission, and they have a standard form that they all use. But it can be very confusing, especially if you haven't purchased a home in 10, 15, 20 years, and there's changes every single year, and it's kind of tough to keep up with. But one thing that you need to understand when you are hiring an inspector, for example, if you're buying a house in Dallas that was built in the 1950s or 60s, they are inspecting against current year. We're in 2025 right now. They're inspecting against 2025 new building codes. Now, that's not really fair because there's a lot of things within an inspection that are grandfathered in and are suddenly now fire hazards or safety hazards, or whatever your inspector explains to you. But this is super important that you kind of understand. So this would be basically a cover of what an inspection would look like. But here's where it gets tricky, and this is where there's a lot of confusion. On this inspection report, you're going to see three boxes. You're going to see inspected, I, not inspected, NI, not present, and then the last one would be deficient. Well, a lot of times they'll go from inspected to deficient. Now, does that mean that it's deficient? No, I'm not an inspector. I'm a real estate broker, and I don't claim to be an inspector, but I've done over 200, and I've worked with buyers and sellers on over 200 different inspections. So I have a pretty good idea of what inspectors are looking for. And the problem is that people get really freaked out with the inspection report. And that's one of the main reasons that deals fall apart, that and appraisals. And appraisals make me nervous also, and I've been doing this a long time. But let's talk today about the inspection report. So when something is deficient, for example, if you're buying a home in Dallas, an older home, there's electrical panels that were made with by a company called Federal Pacific, another one by Sylvania, and a couple others. I don't even know what they are. Now, a lot of these homes will have the original electrical panel in them. Does that mean it's a safety hazard? Well, I mean, by today's standards, yes. Does it mean that the house is going to burn down? No. And that's pretty widespread all over the Dallas and older parts of Fort Worth, and just older parts all over the Metroplex. But the one thing that you have to understand is when these guys are inspecting, again, they have to inspect against current codes. It just gets a little bit confusing and it freaks people out. That's why I tell you, please hire an inspector that you can communicate with, that's going to go through the process with you and to help you understand what's critical and what's not critical. Now, things like, is the roof 15 or 20 years old? That's a problem because that's going to affect your insurance rate. There could be hail damage. There could be all sorts of stuff. So what are the inspectors inspecting? Well, I like to put together a book like this for all my clients. And the reason I do that is it keeps me organized. So what are they looking for? Well, they're looking at general things, and they don't, if there's anything, a good inspector is going to tell you, you need to get a foundation person out here and look at this a little bit more closely. You need to get a roofer out here. You need to get an electrician, on and on and on. Any inspector that's telling you, oh my gosh, don't do this, you shouldn't buy this house for this reason, that reason, you know what? That's not their job. Their job is to go in there and to look at items. As part of your report, you should be getting an explanation and you should be getting pictures. And this report in particular, as I go through, is 21 pages long. That's not a short report. Anybody that's not giving, an inspector that's not giving you pictures and not giving you these kind of detail, you probably don't hire that guy or girl. Now, The inspector that I use, that I've been using for a long time, and I'm not going to say his name, you can contact me if you want. At the end of his report, he does like a summary, and he'll talk about major concerns. See that? Major concerns, safety issues, and repair items. The inspection is not an opportunity for you to renegotiate the whole contract. You need to go in there and understand what's working, what's not working. Yes, there are major things that you probably need to ask for. I've just been involved in something that we needed a new roof because it had all sorts of hail damage. There was a foundation issue, actually two foundation issues. One was a supporting wall that had to be replaced. Um, Everything is a case by case basis, but the inspection is not a time for you to go in there and just say, hey, here's my inspection report. See all these repair items? You need to fix them all. If it's a safety or if it's a major concern, yeah, you really need to take a look at it. But a good inspector is going to tell you what it is you need to be looking at and what's important in the immediate now. So let me know if you've had any issues with your inspector, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Ciao.